Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to another video. And, I just want to start off by apologizing. I started off this YouTube channel a few weeks ago, and I told myself that this will be my platform to share my thoughts, and this will be a diary to really just document my way of thinking and my thoughts and my evolution as a person over time. And so far, that has not been the case, right? I made a few videos and work started to get really busy. The holiday season came around. Um, and so for 2026, I want to definitely do more, right? And one of the things that I want to do is make this YouTube channel one of my main priorities. It's going to sound crazy. I have no subscribers right now. I basically have no views on any of my YouTube channels. And so this is a huge leap for me, right? Um, but I am here and I'm going to be here and I will make consistent videos every week and I hope you guys enjoy. Um, but, if no one watches my videos, it's fine because at the end of the day, it's for me. And this is something that I want to pursue for at least, a temporary amount of time in my life, right? Um, so currently, just a little bit of background about myself. I'm in my early 20s, almost in my mid 20s, but I'm trying to hang on to that little bit of youth there. Um, but I guess, being in your mid 20s and your late 20s, even in your 30s and 40s, you can arguably say that you're still very young, right? In the grand scheme of things, a lot of people get famous in their 40s, 50s, whatever, so on. So it's never too late. But one of the goals that I've had since I was literally a teenager, like 15 years old, when I had my first job, was I wanted to build long term wealth. I want to build money, build a solid foundation for myself, and be financially free at a young age, but continue to protect that financial well being and evolve it into something bigger and generational in the future, right? In the long term future. Um, and so far, I've done pretty well for myself. I would say I had businesses when I was in college. I sold businesses, and I went into corporate finance, and now I make six figures, right? So it's pretty sweet. But the problem is, there's a lot of problems with corporate finance that we can talk about in another video. But um, I have a net worth of approximately 500,000 right now, and it fluctuates from time to time because of stocks, but that's basically where my portfolio is at. Um, just in terms of 401ks and my Roth IRA and just my general portfolio, all of that combined, right? So I consider that a good amount of money for someone who came from the background that I did. My parents, they were low income, not middle class, not wealthy or rich by any means. Um, I went to public schools my whole life, and so far, like this has been just a life changing amount of money. And after I've told my parents how much I have, they they've changed as people, right? So a lot of people will tell you that money wouldn't change your problems. It wouldn't fix any of your problems. Money is not the end all be all. And while I do agree with that last part, money is not the end all be all. I think money gets you most of the way there. It's probably like 85% of life quality. Um, if you have money, let me just tell you from my personal perspective how things have changed since I've gotten a decent amount of money, right? Um, to start off, my parents, since I was a kid, have been very, very low, short-tempered people. they've been very brutal in terms of my upbringing at times, and you know, they want what's best for me. Obviously, I understand that, but they don't really have the typical um, patience that other parents do, which is fine, right? I think in some ways it's helped me grow and develop as a person, so I appreciate it. But definitely, once I've grown in terms of income and in terms of my overall net worth, I see the comfort instilled in them, right? Every single day, they know that things will be fine. They know that I'm making money now. They know that I have a decent amount of money built up. So, in the very least, they can not worry about their son, right? They can focus more on their personal life, focus more maybe on their retirement. But I'm not, unfortunately, in the state to be able to retire them right now. I really wish I will be one day. But at least I'm happy knowing that I'm able to take some pressure off their shoulders, right? And I think that's super important. That's something that I never would have dreamed of when I was a kid. When I was having mental breakdowns, dealing with my parents, and as sometimes it was definitely I was being naive and I was being a child, but I think a lot of times, to be very honest, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, my parents just have a low amount of patience, um, and so it was a tough childhood. It was a tough upbringing, I guess you can say. But overall, that is just a major way of how money has been able to change my life in a very considerable way, right? And money is one of the main things, one of the main reasons for people getting divorced in the United States. And I'm sure around the world, it's probably up there in terms of ranking, right? Reasons for why people get divorced is probably financial stress, financial disagreements, um, and so money really helps you in all of those aspects in relationships, right? And relationships are important. So by extension, money is important. Now, obviously, there are things more important than money, such as health. But in a lot of cases, having money helps you maintain good health, right? You can get better doctors if you get sick. You can seek further treatment. You can choose to quit your job and have more free time and lower your stress, thus improving your health, right? All of these things are super important. So definitely don't underestimate the value of money and what it can do for your life. Um, Personally, for me, I think it's a really big mind shift thing, to go from being poor or broke to having a good amount of money and setting yourself up for life, right? That's what I think everyone should be focusing on. Um, And if you're not in a financially sound place already for your age, definitely start looking into it. It's never too late, but you never want to just let that problem build up, right? You don't want credit card bills, you don't want anything like that. Um, but yeah, for me, money has been a big thing, and I believe that just like the stock market, if you compound your mentality of just living by certain rules, right? Um, Spending less than you make and living well below your means, for instance. That is one rule that has been very instrumental in my development. So, you know, I still live with my parents to this day. Can I move out? Yes. Do I want to? Most of the time, yes. But by staying home and living with my parents, I've been able to save so much more money than my peers, right? Six figures might sound like a shit ton of money to you, but after taxes, that's really like 70, maybe $80,000 a year. And at least in my state, New York, right? So that's still a good amount of money, but you take away rent, which is $30,000 to $40,000 a year in New York. Um, and that's most of the time that's if you get a roommate. you consider the cost of groceries, the cost of utilities and other things that you need. And you really aren't stuck with that much more money. You're really most of your money is gone. And I've actually done the calculations for one of my coworkers. Um, and he makes the same amount as me. And in a year, I probably save 70 to 80,000. But in a year, I feel like my coworker really saves like 30,000, right? So definitely big deal to live at home. Um, it's very important, at least for me, right? I think in some ways, though, living by yourself and moving out is important as well. So, for instance, if you move out, and this is something that I struggle and juggle with a lot in terms of just my judgment, right? And um, my personal, I guess, roadmap for life. I'm not sure really if I should move out since I think that would be a huge motivational boost for me, in terms of what I want to get out of life and my daily motivation levels. I feel like if I had bills every single month, maybe I'd be more hungry for that promotion. Um, but I recently had an epiphany, which, is the main reason why I'm reviving this YouTube channel and why I will stay consistent. And, a big step for me, which I have yet to say, is in 2026, I think I'm going to quit my job soon. And I don't take that lightly, right? That is a big deal. Um, in the next few weeks, I'm going to hand in my 2 weeks notice to my employer and I'm going to quit. And I'm doing this with no subscribers in my YouTube channel, right? And no views basically. So this is a huge leap, but the idea is I hate corporate, right? That's number one. There's a lot of workplace dynamics that just drains the life out of me. Um, and thinking about life as a video game almost, 20s, this is a time for you to build, right? This is a time for anyone to build for the rest of their lives. If you want to get going early, you have kids in your late to early 30s, maybe. And that's when you got to start taking less asymmetrical risks. And that's when you have to start planning to settle down and raise your family, right? Or at least that's the life that I want. That's the life that I picture for myself. So if life was a video game, I truly believe that in my 20s, although I would like to see my net worth go up every single year, is that really realistic? Do you know, your 20s is a whole decade, right? Do you play any video game or, there's not much in life where you can win 20 rounds in a row, right? And that's just how it is. That's, something you have to accept, right? Are there people who can do it? Sure, of course. But if I were to take 1 year in my 20s and really make it about growth and self discovery, and I mean really make it about growth and self discovery, like really not just being lazy and just be proactive the entire year to test things like YouTube, to chase that, other career that you've been thinking about chasing. And, you might take a hit to your net worth and you might plateau for that year, but it's okay, right? Your career is very long. You can always go back to your cushy office job. It might take you a bit longer to, get another job because there'll be a break in your resume, but dude, there's so much you can say about that, right? Like who's going to blame you for chasing that career to, I don't know, be a teacher or be a, go into real estate because, you were curious about it. Who's going to blame you? No one. And, in the interviews, they might even be in a way impressed that you were willing to take that risk, right? So it's not that crazy to take a year off and focus on yourself, right? If this year, me chasing YouTube can make me realize that, you know, whatever is my calling to life. I don't know if it's YouTube or if it's something else, but if it can give me a clearer picture of what I want to do for the rest of my life, then great, super worth it, right? And even if it doesn't, it's okay because at the end of the day, life is a video game, and wasting 1 year even in your 20s, which is important for compounding your money and growth, and I understand all of that. But even if you were to waste 1 year, it's okay. It's totally fine, right? You get back up, you dust yourself off, and you go back and you chase it. And you'll still get there. Wasting 1 year of compounding won't ruin your life. You'll be fine. Um, and I would say this regardless of if my net worth was 500K, 400K, 300K, it doesn't matter. 200K, 100K, or even less, even if I was in debt. I believe this is true for everyone, right? And so yeah, that is my New Year's resolution. I don't expect, my income to like go up in the short term at all. Maybe even past 1 year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years. I don't know. But I've decided I'm going to quit my job. And, you know, at the end of the day, although money is important, what you do in discovery of what you're good at and what you want to do is more important than money in a lot of ways. Because if you hate your job and you do it for a few years and then you have to quit because it's so bad for your mental health, and then you're lost for a few years and then you just waste time because you're so exhausted and burnt out. That's not as good as if you were just in a stable career your entire life without quitting and just reinvesting the money, right? Like that's not as good because you're wasting time now, and that time brings down the overall average income that you make throughout the course of your life. So if you want to talk about, you know, the money aspect is not as good. If you want to talk about the quality of life aspect, is not as good. So overall, I would say go out and chase what you want to do in your 20s, you know? Um and I believe that if you keep working hard and you are consistent every single day and you show up every single day, you'll get the results you want eventually, right? That's been the case my entire life when I was opening my business, um, when I was selling my business, because that was a super, super hard time in my life as well, arguably harder than opening my business. Um, all of those facts remain true, right? Being consistent every day, waking up, going after it, and not being lazy. And it's literally so crazy to me how we're all stuck on our phones today, right? Like we're all on social media all day. It's so hard to stop scrolling. It's so hard to put the phone down. And it's just insane. These multi-billion, multi-trillion dollar companies are using everything in their disposal to research ways to get you to keep scrolling, right? So they're playing with the chemicals in your brain, your dopamine levels, all of these things, and they're trying to keep you trapped in social media. And it's really hard. Like even before this video, before I was making this video, I was scrolling and I was scrolling profusely, right? I was looking at the time and I'm like, all right, 15 more minutes. And that turned into 30 and then that turned to 45. And I'm like, wow. And I consider myself someone who is pretty on top of my shit, right? So for someone like me to be stuck in a loop of endless, mindless scrolling for shorts, it's just insane. I don't know how the normal person can survive because, if your entire life is clocking in to a job and, breaking even in terms of, most people in America, I believe, are living paycheck to paycheck and just breaking even, and then you're just scrolling on your free time, like you're kind of fucked, right? You're kind of doomed if that's all you do forever. Unless you're in a career where your income can scale, but even that's not guaranteed, right? And if you just scroll and you don't look for side income and you don't look for ways to have that cushion in terms of if you were to get laid off or anything like that, that is an insanely dangerous position to put yourself in on the chessboard. So definitely think about that, guys. I implore all of you guys to really think about how you can make 2026 your year. And I encourage everyone to start something on the side, whether it be an Etsy business, a YouTube channel, whatever it is, and just go after it, right? So let's make 2026 our year. This will be the kickoff of a channel that will be consistent weekly. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. So take care, guys. Thank you so much.